Close your eyes for a second. I want you to visualize a street you know well. Maybe it's your own block. Now, strip away the hum of the electrical grid. No lights, no hum of air conditioning. Just silence, broken only by the sound of distant gunfire. It's 1993, and the city is under total siege. You are standing at your gate, and a man approaches you. You know him. Before the world fell apart, he was a senior banker. He wore Italian suits and drove a luxury car. Now, he's hollow-cheeked, shivering, and he's holding out a hand. In his palm sits a heavy, solid gold necklace, 24 karat. The old world. That necklace was worth 3 months of your salary. It was a status symbol. It was wealth. But today, he isn't asking for a fortune. He isn't even asking for food. He is begging you to trade him a single plastic disposable lighter and a half-empty pack of cigarettes for that gold. He is desperate because the gold is cold, heavy, and useless. He can't eat it. He can't burn it. But that lighter is fire. Fire boils water so his children don't die of dysentery. Fire cooks the meager scraps of food he has left. Fire is life. That gold is just a shiny rock. This isn't a dystopian novel. This is a documented historical reality from the Siege of Bosnia, recorded by a survivor who watched the polite facade of society crumble in weeks. And it keeps me awake at night because it exposes a lie that millions of people still believe. If this chills you to the bone, you need to be here. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. We don't deal in comfortable theories. Here, we look at the autopsy of collapsed empires so you can survive the next one. The conventional wisdom in the preparedness community has always been the same. Buy gold, buy silver, stack it high. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. It's a comforting thought, isn't it? That a pile of coins will be your shield. But when we actually strip away the fantasy and look at the forensic evidence of total economic collapse from the Balkans to Venezuela, from the Weimar Republic to Zimbabwe, precious metals rank far, far lower than you think. There's a hierarchy of survival, and gold is not at the top. The things that actually save you are things you can't put in a safe deposit. Box, skills, land, tools, relationships. We need to talk about the pattern. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And the data from every major modern collapse tells the exact same story. The first thing you have to understand is the terrifying speed of currency debt. We like to think that societal decay is a slow slide, it's a gentle decline that gives you years to move your assets. The reality is violent and abrupt. In Bosnia, the transition from a normal credit-producing society to a brutal, primitive barter system didn't take years. It took months. In the early days, people were still trying to pay with paper money out of habit. Within weeks, the inflation was so catastrophic that prices were multiplying by factors of 20 or 100 overnight. A pack of cigarettes went from costing pocket change to costing a month's wages. Look at Venezuela right now. We are talking about inflation exceeding 1,000,000%. The currency became so toxic that the locals started calling it dead money. The government's solution wasn't to fix the economy. It was to ban the bills. Imagine waking up to the news that your life savings, the cash under your mattress, had to be exchanged within 72 hours, or it would be illegal kindling. 3 days to save your entire financial life. That is how fast the floor drops out. When the currency dies, the economy doesn't just stop. It travels backward in time. It reverts. We go from a complex digital economy straight back to pre-industrial feudalism. Only utility matters. In Venezuela today, right now as I speak, there are beach resorts where fishermen do not accept cash. You cannot buy a fish with money. One fisherman said it plainly. Money doesn't buy anything, so bring me rice and I will give you fish. It is a direct caloric exchange. Farmers are walking hundreds of kilometers carrying sacks of bananas and yams, not to sell them, but to trade them directly for flour and medicine. This is the phase where gold betrays you. You cannot eat a cracker and you cannot use a silver eagle to suture a wound. In the early stages of a collapse, when panic is high and resources are non-existent, the person with a basement full of gold is starving while the person who knows how to repair a water pump is eating like a king. This brings us to the most critical realization. Productive capacity trumps stored wealth. Look at the Great Depression. We have this image of everyone standing in breadlines, but that wasn't true. The farmers suffered, yes, prices crashed, but they had an unfair advantage. They had the means of production. A family in rural Iowa, with 4 acres, a few chickens, and a vegetable garden survived. They had milk, eggs, meat, and vegetables. They had zero cash flow, but they had full bellies. Compare that to the urban worker in the city who lost his factory job. Even if he had savings, the supply chains broke. He had no way to generate value. He was a consumer in a world that had stopped producing. There was a comment from a viewer on a previous discussion that summed this up perfectly. He said his grandfather survived the Depression not because of a stock portfolio, but because he had a small farm and he knew carpentry. land, and skills. That is the Amish Hedge. It is the investment in things that produce tangible value regardless of what the stock market ticker says. Farmland is the ultimate asset because it is biological, not financial. During the 2008 financial crisis, while the S&P 500 was shedding nearly half its value, farmland values actually increased. Why? Because people have to eat. When the digital numbers turn red, the soil still produces green. It is the only insurance policy that pays you a dividend in calories. But let's get specific. What skills actually matter? During the Depression, the people who stayed employed were the ones who provided essential services. Doctors, nurses, mechanics, shoe repairmen. If you could mend a coat, you had a business. If you could slaughter a hog and cure the meat so it wouldn't spoil without refrigeration, you were a wealthy man. Today, we place so much value on abstract skills, coding, consulting, marketing. In a collapse, those skills evaporate. The value shifts to the tangible. Can you fix a generator? Can you grow a tomato from seed to harvest? Can you set a broken bone? Here is where the forensic evidence gets really interesting. When we look at the siege of Bosnia, we see what items actually commanded the highest value on the black market. It wasn't jewelry, it was ammunition, hygiene, and medicine. Let's talk about the Bickleither theory. The survivor Selko, who documented this hell, explicitly advises against buying a big, loud, fuel-guzzling generator. What? Because a generator screams, "I have power," to every desperate person within 3 miles. It requires fuel that you won't be able to find at breaks. Instead, he recommends stockpiling 1,000 disposable lighters. It sounds ridiculous until you do the math. A lighter is silent. It fits in your pocket. It provides immediate fire for cooking and sterilizing water. And most importantly, it is cheap trade bait. You can trade a 50-cent lighter for a day's worth of food. If you lose one, you have 999 left. If someone steals your generator, you are back to the Stone Age. Hygiene items were another shock. We underestimate how quickly morale and health collapse when you are filthy. Bleach became liquid gold because it could purify water. A bar of soap, a tube of toothpaste, feminine hygiene products, these things traded for premium rates. Antibiotics were worth more than diamonds. A simple infection from a scratch can kill you when there are no hospitals. Having a stockpile of amoxicillin gave you the power to save a life, and that power bought you protection, food, and loyalty. Brings us to the gold paradox. During the actual crisis, the time when people are dying, gold is often traded at a massive loss. Warlords and black marketeers will take your gold, but they will give you pennies on the dollar for it. They know its long-term value, but they also know you are desperate. You're trading your family's generational wealth for a can of soup, because you have no other choice. Gold is a mechanism for wealth preservation after the chaos settles. It is for the rebuilding phase. It is not a survival tool. If you have nothing else but gold, you are just a mobile ATM for the first guy with a gun who sees you. But there is one asset that outperforms everything else. And it's the one asset preppers usually ignore because it's hard community. We have this American fantasy of the lone wolf, the guy who runs into the woods with his rifle in his backpack and survives on his own. In reality, that guy dies. He breaks an ankle, he gets an infection, or he falls asleep and gets robbed. The data is overwhelming. Isolated individuals die at a rate far higher than those in groups. In every documented collapse, the people who survived were the ones who banded together in Venezuela. Neighbors formed informal networks to tell each other when the bread truck was arriving. In Bosnia, entire apartment blocks organized security shifts. You watch the stairwell for 4 hours while I sleep. Then we switch us as social capital. It is the trust you build with your neighbors before the lights go out. If you wait until the collapse to try and make friends, it's too late. You need to know who the nurse is on your street. You need to know who has the tools. You need to be the person they trust. A strong community is a force multiplier that no amount of ammo can replace. So, what does this mean for you? The autopsy of these dead economies points to a very specific strategy. We need to stop thinking about investing and start thinking about positioning. First, get practical goods. Forget the shiny tech. Stockpile the unsexy things. Lighters, batteries, water filters, basic antibiotics, bandages, soap, alcohol, things that have a shelf life and a clear utility. These are your barter chips. Second, acquire skills, be useful, learn how to garden, even if it's just in buckets on a balcony. Learn basic first aid, not just putting on a band-aid, but how to treat a wound so it doesn't go septic. Learn how to fix things. If you're the guy who can repair the neighborhood's radios or patch a roof, you will never starve. Third, build your network. Stop looking at your neighbors as strangers. Start building bridges. Join a local group. Go to church. Participate in the community garden. Find your tribe now while things are calm. And finally, yes, hold some precious metals, but understand their place. Gold is for the other side. It's what you use to buy land when the new currency is established and the dust settles. It is not for the transition. The transition runs on blood, sweat, and calories. We are looking at a world where the debt is insurmountable, where the currencies are fragile, and where the systems we rely on are straining. The question isn't if the fragility will break, it's when. And when it does, you don't want to be the banker with the gold necklace, begging for a light. You want to be the one holding the lighter. If this breakdown changed the way you look at your own preparedness, I need you to do something. Hit that like button so this information spreads. Drop a helicopter emoji in the comments if you're actually doing the work to position yourself. And tell me, what is the one skill we're working on right now? I read every single comment. Don't wait until the screen goes black. Start now.